Gamecast from MSN.
Welcome to the second Tech and Gadgets gaming podcast, now officially named Gamecast.
Is it officially named that now?
It is officially named Gamecast. Available on iTunes and available through our webpage, which is tech.uk.msn.com. This is your host, Ian Lee.
Hello.
And we're your editors, Nick Taylor.
Hello.
And I'm Jane Douglas. Welcome.
This is the hottest day in the world ever, I think, since probably before records ever began, and we've decided to come and sit in a tiny room with air conditioning, but I can feel myself starting to sweat, to talk about video games. I should be at home right now playing video games, goddammit. I want to talk about arcades. That's kind of why I've mustered up the strength to come in. But I have had to pull myself away from Grand Theft Auto 4. It would be rude not to mention it. Do you know, I'm not a massive fan of Grand Theft Auto before. I like the first one, the top-down 2D, but I kind of missed out on the last few. But this is fantastic, isn't it? Have we all had a go on it? Has anyone not played Grand Theft Auto 4?
I don't think anyone in the world hasn't played it now.
How are you getting on with Michelle? Is she putting out yet? Because I think she likes me. I've kissed her and everything.
On the first night when it came out, and I had about 12 hours straight on it. And
how far have you got? I've not got
fantastic.
very far. All I've done so far, I chased a man out of a laundrette. And I kicked a bloke off a roof. You get the choice. Do you kick him off the roof? Do you save him? I kicked him off, of course.
You saved him, didn't you, Nick?
No.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Someone else did. But I thought about it. I thought maybe he might be a useful ally, and then I thought, nah, it's GTA.
Are you playing it as a young lady?
Yes,
are you enjoying
yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 4?
I've been playing it since before release, actually, since the lovely people of Rockstar gave us a free release.
Listen to her,
Yeah.
Miss Fancy Pants.
No, it's been brilliant.
Very quickly, the online game is kind of quite good, but a little bit repetitive, I thought. I'm a big fan of the online gaming.
It almost felt like the size of the map is so big that everyone gets a bit lost in there.
Yeah.
But it's definitely got potential.
Yeah. But everybody seems to be rubbish at it, which is, you want a bit more...
I don't know, that's a nice leveler. When you consider the level of play with Call of Duty and that, I could stand some less elite players, I think.
I'm all right at Call of Duty. It's Halo Online is the one where you just spawn and suddenly you're shot. I said, whoa, hey, give me a second. Let me just get my bearings here. Let's just take this nice and calmly. Anyway, that's... Oh, very quickly, when I bought Grand Theft Auto, I was telling Jane this on the lift on the way up. I had a friend coming round to have a bit of a session on it, and we got it out, and we said, oh yeah, it looks good. Should we go and play on the Spectrum in the spare room? And we spent the whole night playing Hypersports on the Spectrum, so there's lots of... doing that, and we didn't touch it at all. So I don't know if that's an indictment on GTA, I don't know. But anyway, now, the reason why I've gathered you in a hot room on this hot day is to ask you the question, when was the last time any of you went into an arcade to play a game? I can't remember. I've just been to Japan recently, and I was there for 2 weeks in Tokyo and Kyoto, and a lot of the culture is going to arcades in the evening and making a big social event of it. Then maybe they'll go get some dinner, then go back to the arcades. Nick, when was the last time you went to an arcade in this country?
It's got to be at least a couple of years. And bearing in mind I live in Brighton and the place is full of arcades as well.
It's the home of arcades. Yeah. Slightly rubbish. The British... Because if I pop to the seaside, I'll go into an arcade. But generally they're rubbish. There's nothing modern on there, is there, really?
The most high-tech in the local arcade to me is Daytona, which has been there for the last 10 years.
Good game.
Great game. Great game, yes. But things have moved on a little, but not there.
Jane, have you been in an arcade recently?
I have actually, but interestingly, it was the Namco arcade near the London Eye.
That's
and
quite good.
But you don't go in there to play video games. You go in there to do the little claw grabby games and the prize game and the dodgems. They've got a little kind of.
They've got dodgems. I went there actually, saying that about 6 months ago. About a year ago, we went to go bowling on the mini bowl thing, whatever it's called. It's quite good there, and it's massive. But again, you think, well, this is Namco. They should have something a little bit more up to date, a little bit more exciting. There's the Trocadero as well in London. These are all in London. I apologise, there are people listening all around the country. And the Trocadero's, there's nothing special, is it? At all, I don't think.
I've been there since I was a kid.
It's rubbish, really. But the arcades in Japan are fantastic. Now, there were these games I saw. I've got no idea what they are, and maybe you can help me. I took some pictures. I should have brought them in. There's an arcade screen. Okay, I'll try and describe it. There's an arcade screen, and then you've got a big table in front of you, and there were people with cards, like like sort of, I guess sort of Pokemon cards, but not quite. And in one game, they were putting these cards in different places, moving them around, and then this is so difficult to explain. And then battles would take place on the screen in relation to what cards they put where and where they moved them to. Has anyone ever heard of this? No.
I'm almost certain there's a PS3 game, and it's called the Eye of Judgment. That's
Right.
it. I don't know if it's the same thing you're talking about, but it's a similar concept. You have an add-on camera for your PS3,
Oh, really?
and it looks at a deck of cards that you're playing with, and then the battles take place on screen. So maybe it's related to what you.
What's
saw.
it called?
Eye of Judgment.
It sounds kind of similar. And do you have to move the cards around?
Yeah, I think so. I believe
And you can
so.
get it in this country.
Yes, I believe you can. I will check.
And you
on
can get
that.
me a free one. I'm assuming that we've mentioned it at least
I have
twice
never
now.
played with it, but
that sounds
I'll
like
look
kind of what it
into
is. And there were people with stacks of cards and really looking at these battles and going through the cards, going, "No, I'm going to have this one and put this down." And there was another version of it which was more obvious to understand, where it was football. So you'd have your how many people are in a football team? 11, is it? I don't follow the sport. So you'd have your 11 cards, your 11 players laid out, and you would move the cards around and put them into attack and defend, and the game would take place on the screen. It was the most amazing thing I've seen in the arcade, and an innovation. It looked quite involved. It's not the thing you put in 50p and you have 2 minutes and you go, "That was fun," and you nick off. These people were spending their lunch break there and playing this for an hour solidly. Nick, would you like to see something like that? I would love to see something like that. Adult arcade games.
I like the idea of it. It's very different to the UK arcade culture, I think, isn't it? That kind of game. Do you know how much it costs to play them?
It wasn't that expensive. It was probably about 100 yen. No, it was about 200 yen. What's that in real money? Hang on, 1,000 yen is about £1.50. I think that's a rough conversion. Apologies to anybody who may be offended by my conversion. It's about £1.50, I think, which isn't bad.
To play it each time, it's
Yeah.
£1.50.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. So
Which
the
isn't-
same sort of price as over here.
Yeah. It's not that
I was
bad.
just thinking maybe if it was like 10p a go or something.
Oh no, the games that were 10p a go were things like Virtua Tennis and stuff like that. They still have Virtua Tennis over there, and you just it was nothing. And a game on that, you can, if you're good, if you're half decent, you can last 15 minutes on that. So you're getting your money's worth. They also had lots of these things which you kind of see in some arcades here, but not very often. They had the Guitar Hero type thing. They had the Drum Hero type thing, which I think you can get over here.
Well, it's coming out in a game called Rock Band. You can
Rock
get
Band.
When
is that coming out of here? Because that's been out in the States since November or something ridiculous.
It has, yeah. It's coming out later on this month.
I've played on it. It is flipping hard. I look like a right Wally doing it. But they had a drum one in the arcade. They had. They also had a scratching one, so you had two mixing desks and you were doing a little bit of scratching. So you could play them individually, or you could link them all up and have a massive battle, a rock battle going off against each other. And I was pretty good on the drum one. I was in there playing Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss, and I don't think I looked stupid. I think I looked kind of cool. My poor girlfriend, bless her, she's standing there going, "You done yet, Ian? Let's go." No, one more go. She said, "Yeah, can we go now?" It's getting a little bit boring. But while I was playing that, sorry, I'm just going to go off on a whole rant about this, and I've got footage of me playing it, which I need to put on YouTube. But while I was playing that, there was a businessman behind me playing. Was it Dance Revolution?
Yeah.
When we've got the thing, you've got to jump on the arrows, and he was in his suit, and he was. I've never seen anyone so good at this game. He had it on like super high level, and he was. I don't know how he was doing it. There were two Dance Revolutions. He was playing both of them at the same time. This is how good he was, and he was getting into it. And we videoed him. I'm going to put that on YouTube as well. And at the end of the game, he would take a picture of the screen. He had a little notebook, and he wrote down his score in there, and he wiped the sweat off, and then he did it again, and it was incredible. It was watching his feet was like watching Michael Jackson in about '87 when he was at his peak. Watching his body was like this weird, awkward, gangly Japanese businessman just kind of flailing around, and I kind of felt sorry for him because he obviously thought, I'm Mr. Cool here. I'm Mr. Shinobi, or whatever. And he didn't. He looked like a muppet, really. But the thing about those games is, you will get crowds of Japanese kids watching someone doing that. Whereas you do it over here in England, everyone goes, look at that idiot. When it's me doing it anyway, they kind of. Have you been on the? Are you a fan of the more physical games, Jane?
I was never that
steady.
good at Dance Revolution, sadly.
if you're not great at it straight away, it kind of puts you off from going back for another go because you feel like everyone's just going.
That said,
sniggering behind
I
them.
had some friends who had bought that you can actually buy the metal Dance Dance Revolution dance mats for your own home.
How much did that cost? That's a few quid, isn't it?
They were expensive. I can't remember the price.
Dedicated.
But then maybe that's why the Japanese arcades are so popular, because over here we're a little bit more reserved and we don't like, going around looking like idiots, really. So maybe they don't care about that. Have either of you ever played pachinko?
No.
I don't know.
Oh, pachinko's it's kind of an arcade game, but it's gambling, but it's illegal gambling, but it's legal through a loophole in the law. And it's the biggest thing in arcades in Japan. And it's it's not really an arcade machine, it's this hideous sort of box with ball bearings in it. And you put, the rule seems to be you smoke a lot of cigarettes, you put one coin in and you turn a dial like that. You just turn a dial until the balls start falling. And when they start falling, you just sit there with your hand on that dial for ages and you collect the balls. That's it. That's it. And yet, if you ever go to Japan, you have to go to a pachinko parlour because it's just... You stand outside, it's silent, the door's open, and it's just this sound of balls falling, excuse me, of bad Japanese rock music, and the smell of cigarettes. It's the most incredible thing. If anyone can explain the rules to me, can they get in touch on the notice board and let me know? Because I don't understand it at all. Nick, what's your favourite arcade game of all time?
Oh, probably Gauntlet.
Oh, yeah, respect to you for that. Well
I
done.
think so.
You plucked that out of the air. Good work.
Well, thank you.
No, I've forgotten about Gauntlet, but it's a brilliant game.
Bit of a classic. I think one of the first ones where you could actually team up with your mates as well. So
you can get it on Xbox Live now.
Yes,
and I downloaded it when it first came out. But there's never anyone online playing it who wants to. There's never anyone online to join up. If you play it on your own, it's a bit of a sad game. It's a lonely thing, being a sexy. There is a sexy wizard in there, isn't there? Wasn't there a girl, the sexy warrior?
The Valkyrie.
That's it. She was hot.
Yeah.
What's your favourite, Jane?
Silent Scope. I really used to love that game.
Oh man, yeah, that's a fantastic game.
Yeah, and I think arcade games where they really come out on top is when there's a big bit of hardware that you're not going to purchase for your own home, because and when you've got a next gen console at home, the arcades don't really have the technological edge anymore, but they've got the hardware, so a Silent Scope with a rifle, I like that.
I tell you what I got given, I would never have bought it, and I gave it away because I'm an idiot and I wish I had it now. It was on the original Xbox. It was that one where you're like in like a metal, you're in like a robot, and the controller was these three massive sections that joined together. What was that called? And there were 36 buttons on this controller. I think there was a button for windscreen wipers. Honestly, I think you had a key that you turned to start it. I got given it, but I didn't get given any instructions for it. So I remember trying to play it once and just going, well, what? Well, I can do the windscreen, I can start her up, and then I didn't have a clue what the hell's doing. I gave it away, and I should have kept on to it, because it's a piece of gaming history. I do like it. I noticed you'd written a very nice little piece about different controllers.
Yes, which featured that game, actually. It might have been Mechasol.
Was it Mechasol? I thought
I wouldn't put money on it.
But I thought that was very good, that little piece about all the different controllers.
I
was very impressed with that. My favourite arcade game of all time would have to be Q*bert. Do you remember that? It's a completely... Look at blank faces here.
Remind us.
No one here remembers Q*bert. Okay, there's lots of little cubes...
Right.
And you jump on them. You're a man with a big nose. There's lots of little cubes in a weird sort of 3D pyramid type thing, and you had to jump on the cubes to change the colour of the cubes. But there was a snake after you, I think, and there were other things that would jump on the cubes to change the back, and it made a noise like bow, 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 bow as you jumped around.
Sorry.
I remember.
Are you just saying that to be my friend?
It sounds like there was a Spectrum game called Pogo.
It's exactly the same as Pogo, yes. There were lots of clones in those days, in the days when copyright meant nothing and everyone could rip off everyone else. I think there was a version on the BBC called Q-Man or something like that, so you don't know it.
Sorry, no.
I'm shocked.
Not familiar.
That just shows how old I am. The worst arcade game, I think, Dragon's Lair, because you see it in an arcade when you're like 9, 10, 11 years old, you go, this looks... amazing. It's a cartoon. It's an actual cartoon. Okay, you're controlling a cartoon character. So before graphics were any good, and it was about £1 or in those days, which is a lot of money then for an arcade game. And it worked via Laserdisc. So you'd a bit of the cartoon would play, and then you'd have to go left or right. You'd move the joystick to go left. The screen would go blank for about 3 seconds while the next chapter loaded up on the Laserdisc, and then it would come back on, and you died. And that was pretty much as far as you got. So it looked amazing, But it was just pointless because it would cost so much money and you couldn't get anywhere. Right. Very quickly, I saw a couple of weeks ago. Have you seen King of Kong? The film, man, it's talking about arcades. This is a film. I don't know if it's been released over here. A friend of mine sent it to me from the States. It starts off as an hilarious documentary, and it ends up actually being quite moving and quite sad. It's all about this guy. What's his name? Steve Wiebe, who's trying to break the world record on Donkey Kong, which was at the time was who owned the record? This guy called Billy Mitchell. And this guy breaks the world record, sends in a tape to Twin Galaxies, which is the World Federation holder thing, and they refuse to acknowledge his world record. They say he tampered with his machine. So the film is him going to all these tournaments, trying to meet Billy Mitchell and play him, have a Donkey Kong session with him and beat him. And Billy Mitchell just won't come near him because he knows that this guy can beat him. It's the best film ever. If anyone has seen that, leave your comments on the message board as to whether you agree with me. Now, Jane, last time we were doing this,
yes,
you did some excellent research for us.
Okay.
What have you done this week?
I printed out your message board comments.
Well, shall we go to the messages? Let's have a look. Now, the last column I wrote was me telling you what the greatest game of all time was. It's Elite. We'd all agree with that here, wouldn't we? And I was surprised that quite a few people agreed with me. But there's a guy. Who is this? Do we know the person?
He's on the forum as random person.
Oh, random person.
He's a
AKA
long-time
Psychic
poster.
Snake. I'm a student living in England studying French, physics and history. He's written a blog, and I appear to pop up into it quite regularly. Greatest game ever, don't worry, it's by Iain Lee, so it must be wrong. According to His Highness, Iain Lee, the king of rubbish writing land, this is the first time I've read this, the greatest video game ever is Elite. No, I haven't heard of it either. Well, I'll stop you there, random person. Just because you haven't heard of it doesn't mean it's not the greatest game ever. However, despite this error, I'm rather more enamoured with this latest offering from Mr. Lee than the previous pile of, oh dear, that I read. To be honest, I expected more of the same from this new article. I was pleasantly surprised to find that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Yes, there are a few mistakes. Oh, here we go again. This is the normal argument. For instance, the lack of evidence to support his views. I don't need evidence to support my views. Par exemple, he says. He's in French. He spelt exemplar wrong. There's an A in there, not two U's. Other titles you may think of that. This is quoting me now. Other titles some of you may think are worthy of the #1 game of all time spot are Rainbow Six, not a chance, Gran Turismo, get real, Space Invaders, yeah right, Pac-Man, it's in the top 20, and Metal Gear Solid, ha ha ha, and Halo, get out of here, unquote, end quotes. I assume that he considers laughing and 90s slang as evidence. It doesn't need to be evidence. It's my opinion. He even included a piece about someone from gaming, for which I'm quite pleased he is finally showing some of his credentials. Oh, this is where I mentioned Al Alcorn, who designed Pong, and I played it around his house once. I still don't understand why they picked Lee to write about video games when Ben Croshaw is available. And if you don't know who he is, shame on you. Who's this? Random person. Listen to me. I said this last time. I don't need facts to back up my opinion. It's an opinion. That's what it's. It's an opinion. I do not need facts. Okay, well, listen, those are the comments, and I don't mind the criticism. I'm quite happy. I'm a little bit disappointed that so many people agreed with me this time. I thought I'd start an inflammatory war, and everyone kind of went, yeah, he's got a point, actually. Elite's pretty good.
That's good, though.
No, it is good.
Hard to argue with it, really.
Well, that was a lot of fun. I think I've let off a lot of steam. Yeah, I think the anger and the tension is coming because I have, I should be at home driving around in a stolen car, running over people and putting bricks through laundry windows. That's where I should be. In the world of Grand Theft Auto, of course, not in Muswell Hill where I live. That would be inappropriate. So I think we'll leave it there, shall we?
Great, sure.
Thanks very much, Nick. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Jane, thank you as always.
Thank you, Iain.
We'll be back, I guess, in a month.
Yeah.
With some more exciting topics.
Yes, we will be. Thanks for listening, and come on over to tech.uk.msn.com and give us a shout on the message boards.
Gamecast from MSN.
Gamecast from MSN.